Good evening and thank you for being with us. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit remains on high alert for cases of the coronavirus, and they say the first one here will likely come from someone returning from abroad.
Health Unit officials hosted a news conference this morning to provide an update on their efforts to combat the COVID-19 virus in the Thunder Bay District. Corey Nordstrom has more.
Janet DeMille, the district's medical officer of health, began the news conference with reassuring words.
There are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Thunder Bay.
But many have already gotten tested.
There have been 32 tests done in Thunder Bay and the region, and 16 have come back as negative, and we're waiting for the other ones, and 10 were done just over this current weekend.
This past Saturday, officials from the Norwest Community Health Center confirmed that an individual from Fort Frances had tested positive for COVID-19 after contracting the virus while on a cruise originating in the United States. DeMille says there is a Thunder Bay connection, but nothing locals should worry about.
There is a family member of the resident of Fort Frances with COVID-19 who is self-isolating here in Thunder Bay. This individual was exposed in a smaller way to the relative and did the responsible thing when she heard about the diagnosis.
DeMille urges the public to stay away from the health unit if they think they have the virus, instead asking those people to take a distanced approach, like looking to the health unit's website for a self-assessment tool, or calling the health unit or telehealth to speak with a medical professional. And those with symptoms will be referred to a recently assembled location for screening.
The COVID-19 Assessment Center that will be open tomorrow at the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Center. It's just off their main building in a parking lot. This is not a walk-in. You need to be referred either through telehealth or the health unit, or if you happen to present at the hospital through their screening process, they might send you over there.
With rumors abound of COVID-19 cases here in the city, DeMille wanted the public to be sure of one thing.
I will tell you when there are cases of COVID-19 in this area.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
The city of Thunder Bay is shutting down many of its recreational facilities in wake of the growing concern. Indoor pools, including the Canada Games Complex, will close its doors at the end of the day, as will the Fort William Gardens and all other city arenas. The 55+ Center and all community centers will also be closed, as will the Kinsman Youth Center, the Baggage Building Arts Center, and the Water Garden Pavilion at Prince Arthur's Landing.
I know that the decisions that you're going to hear about today will cause some inconvenience in the community, without a doubt, but hopefully people will appreciate and understand that what we are doing here today is guided by an abundance of caution. Some might say an overabundance of caution, but as I said, we are all in this together. What we do or don't do impacts what other people will be doing.
City Manager Norm Gale says they aren't ready yet to comment on how many employees these closures will affect or whether those employees will continue to be paid. Tonight's City Council meeting has also been canceled, and until further notice, City Council meetings will only be scheduled when they are absolutely necessary to ensure business continuity or compliance with government legislation. Transit buses will continue to operate, but riders are being asked to avoid any unnecessary trips. Now, the list of city events canceled by the COVID-19 outbreak continues to grow. Among the latest casualties are Magnus Theatre, the Folklore Festival, the Northwest Film Fest, and the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. The Gateway Casino and Fort William Historical Park have also been closed until further notice. Intercity Shopping Centre has reduced its hours of operation. And the Catholic Diocese has announced the cancellation of all Masses for the next 2 weekends. However, weekday Masses will continue.
The Ontario government is taking action to protect workers during the COVID-19 outbreak. The province is introducing legislation to give job-protected leave to employees in isolation or quarantined during the outbreak.
If you are in quarantine because you're experiencing symptoms, or you've been asked to self-isolate, you will not lose your job. If you're a parent and you need to stay home to look after the kids while schools are closed, you will not lose your job.
The province has also announced that the finance minister will not be tabling a new budget next week as planned. Instead, Rod Phillips will put forward a fiscal update that will include a one-year outlook based on current economic conditions caused by the COVID-19 outbreak.
The Thunder Bay Food Bank has announced it'll be closing its doors amid COVID-19 fears. At the same time, generous donations from 2 Canadian cities have provided significant help to the Regional Food Distribution Association at a time when they need it most. Michael Mohorovic has that story.
The Thunder Bay Food Bank is run by roughly 35 volunteers, the youngest age 63. And because of their age, it makes them more vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus. So the food bank has decided to close its doors indefinitely until the virus is more under control. Secretary of the board, Myra Bjorn, says the decision was extremely difficult to make.
Very hard, because we realized people really depend on the food bank, and we discussed ways that we could still serve them, and we just don't have the volunteers to do it. It just, to package stuff up and meet them at the door.
The food bank board will meet on March 30th to review the status of the outbreak and decide if there's any safe way for them to reopen. As for the roughly 150 people that the food bank serves, they're going to have to look at alternative options. Those options include the Do Drop-In, Shelter House, the Salvation Army, and the Regional Food Distribution Association. Just today, the RFDA unloaded 2 trucks worth of perishable and non-perishable food items after sending out a call through the Canadian Food Security Network. 2 cities in particular answered the call.
The part of this load behind you is from Calgary and the other one is from Toronto. So we asked the network, this is what we're dealing with, what we're facing, and they had a bit of a surplus and they were able to share with us, which will help us enormously as we prepare. We don't know exactly where COVID-19 will take us, but it will certainly help us with the servicing our customers.
Crom says these 2 deliveries should allow them to service their customers for 3 weeks. But there is some uncertainty if the pandemic lasts more than a month.
I'll be looking for a supply of perishables first, and then maybe another, we'll go to Winnipeg or some other western city to see if we can find some other canned goods. It gives us a sense of comfort. If this lasts any more than a month, then we're going to be in trouble.
Crom says the RFDA welcomes any and all donations, cash or food. Michael Mohorovic, TBT News.
This morning's snowfall led to slippery conditions on many area roadways, and it may have played a factor in a transport crash on Highway 102. The incident occurred around 10 o'clock this morning near Mud Lake Road. Thunder Bay OPP says the tractor trailer was traveling westbound when it went off the highway, crashed through the guardrails, and landed on its side. The rig was carrying 2 men. Neither were injured in the crash. The OPP says no other vehicles were involved and no charges are pending. There's also still no word on how long it will take to remove the transport from the side of the highway.
Firefighters in Geraldton had their hands full this weekend with several major calls, including a large fire at an abandoned motel. The blaze broke out just before the noon hour yesterday at the Gold Nugget Motel. Greenstone Mayor Ron Beaulieu says the business had been shut down for 3 to 4 years, and there are indications the building was mainly being used for storage. Fortunately, there were no injuries. The fire was eventually brought under control without spreading to any neighboring buildings. Beaulieu is crediting the town's volunteer firefighters for doing a good job containing the blaze during what turned out to be a very busy weekend. The Greenstone area also saw a pair of highway collisions which required assistance from the fire crews as well as other first responders.
It's business as usual for now at the Victoriaville Centre, but the mall's March break extravaganza for kids is seeing a much smaller turnout than past years. Today at the center, Science North brought in some animal displays, but only a handful of people came to check them out, likely due to the fears about COVID-19. Tomorrow's event, featuring Sleeping Giant Exotics, had to be canceled, but Wednesday's Paper Airplane Challenge and other events planned later in the week are still going ahead as planned, pending, of course, any changes made by the city.
We wait on direction from the city, and if a call comes in, then we'll just change up our scheduling and go from there. Next week, we have the Awareness Expo going on at Victoriaville. It's for not-for-profit organizations and services to come out and let the public know what they're all about and give them a sense of what they can do for them in times of need. I'm working on a few extra things for the kids over the next few weeks.
If there are any changes to the March break events at Victoriaville, they'll be announced on social media.
Some of the over 15,000, make that 1,500 volunteers from the 1995 Nordic World Ski Championships in Thunder Bay got together this past weekend. A community reunion was held at the Da Vinci Center to celebrate and share memories on the 25-year anniversary of the event. Avery McRae has more.
Volunteers from the 1995 World Nordic Ski Championships in Thunder Bay celebrated the 25th anniversary in a fun but low-key way. Members shared laughs and memories from the event through shared stories and original videos from the games. The 10-day event saw 35 countries and over 75,000 spectators flock to Thunder Bay for both Nordic and ski jumping, boosting the city's reputation for sports tourism. VP of Public Relations for the Games, Pat O'Brien, says the night brings back a lot of memories.
Happy experience, and both in terms of the event itself, which went for 10 days, but in the preparation that went for 10 years in terms of actually going through the process and developing a friendship around the world.
For me, reminiscing and thinking about times gone by, it's that volunteer experience that still is in our community. So even though we're 25 years away from the Nordics, we still see that within our community.
The legacy from the 95 games still lives on in Thunder Bay as it led to the possibilities of hosting global events. In the 25 years since, the city has hosted games like the World Junior Baseball Championship, University Hockey Nationals, the Stahl Foundation Open, and most recently the Special Olympic Canada Winter Games. Rob McCormack, CEO of the 95 Nordic Games, credits Thunder Bay's population for stepping up as these games are largely, if not solely, run by volunteers. He says it's a great feeling to help out at these events.
I see the smiles on their face when the last pitch is thrown, when the last skater has skated. I could see the smile on their face, and I know that feeling, and it's a good one.
Avery McRae, TBT News.
Hundreds of Thunder Bay residents have been grabbing their cameras and heading to check out a unique weather phenomenon along the Lake Superior shoreline. Big blue chunks of lake ice have washed up at several spots on the north end of the city, creating quite the sight. Troy Charles spoke with a few people today who came to see the spectacle.
With regular day-to-day life currently in limbo, Mother Nature stepped up to provide a fun distraction for Thunder Bay residents in the form of magnificent, crystal-clear chunks of blue lake ice. It's uncertain what exactly caused it, but locals have flocked down to the shoreline since word spread on social media about the beautiful ice formations. Whether it be professional photographers or just families and friends out for a walk, everyone is enjoying the sights. This group of Lakehead University students decided to make the most of the few days off they have and come see what all the hype was about.
Oh, for sure, it's nice to get out. I haven't seen anything like this ever, really. Again, it's my first year here, and honestly, it's just a good time with a bunch of people.
To me, it's like very like Thunder Bay, like LU's like a lot, like very outdoorsy, like university, and like seeing all the people coming out here, it's like that's just like a very common thing for like Lakehead students. So I was just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. We should try that.
It definitely lived up to the expectations. It's really, really cool to see this because it's natural. So it's really cool that it can do that.
For Hudson and Jake LeGros, they managed to turn some slabs of ice into their own personal playground. With Mom and Dad keeping a watchful eye, the brothers had a great time playing on the ice. Yeah, there's a secret passway back there?
Uh-huh.
What about the slides? Has the sliding down the ice been fun?
Yeah, and we just go in a little fort, and then we go up through a little den, and then we're up, and then we stand up. There's a little den, and we have a little ice thing we can turn up there.
Cool. Longtime residents of the city have said it's quite rare to have these massive blocks of ice wash up in this fashion. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue officials are cautioning people against climbing on ice chunks or approaching the water because of the potential danger involved. Troy Charles, TBT News.
All right, well, Brittany, not a huge fan of horror movies. Barry, I don't really know what you watch.